Okay, so just to review this project a little bit, so right now I have, we're getting ready to carve this thing. I'm going to show you to make sure you have it set up correctly. Okay, so I have all my, and by the way, I just figured out how to show my cursor on the screen. I have all my layers turned off. So we're just going to kind of go through outside border, that's good, inner border, that's good. Okay, I can do top names and I can do bottom names or name, but ultimately those are not really being used. They're used as a guide. So if I would have screwed up something on top text or bottom text, I would have. Oh, and by the way, that was moved a little bit. Don't sweat it. You see that over here? It shouldn't look like that, but I moved it intentionally. So anyway, but if you were to have screwed it up somehow, you could go back to these top and bottom, and you could have deleted these top text, bottom text, and then go to top names, and then move it to that layer again in case something was wrong. So that's really the biggest benefit of doing it, like having these multiple layers. But remember, the only thing we're actually working with is top text and bottom text. And again, this overlay problem, that don't sweat it. So actually, technically, I could highlight that one and delete it, and we'd be back to where we're supposed to be. So that's what it should look like. And you actually see a little double vector there. Again, that was just a mistake. See, I got two vectors here. So that was just a mistake. So no big deal. Anyway, on your layers. So next will be, basically, like I said before, it's done. So I don't need really to do anything else with this. It's all about, and I've already set up all my tool paths. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, let me pin this so it stays in place. Okay, so I'm going to go to preview, hit reset preview. There we go. So we'll start off fresh. So we're just going to review it. So this is your top, this is your top roughing. That's the first one you're going to run. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this to top roughing. And that's just my own choice of words, just so I know what I'm picking off my pendant when it's game time. So top roughing, and this one's top finish is what I call it. Rename top finish, and then this should be bottom roughing. Yeah, so there's roughing out those shapes. So we're going to rename bottom roughing and check. And we're going to look at this one. That's your bottom finish. So let's rename that. I have no idea what that's all about. There we go. Okay. Sorry. Alright, rename. And this is bottom finish. Now, I guess I am going to add one more thing that I think is relevant. It's just something that can come up. I don't know what's going on with this computer. Okay, so last is cutout, and that's going to show us our cutout path. So we're good. Kind of irritated with those pop-up screens popping up on me. One last thing to do, and I think this is relevant. So let's turn on let's just turn on everything on the bottom. So these carvings here, of course, that's on the top layer. For some reason, if the zero is not exactly correct, when it actually runs this, I have had this happen before where these particular texts, they don't carve as deep as I really want them to. So I'm going to just make an extra file just in case that happens. So I can run it separately when it's all done. If I want to clean it up a little bit, I can just vcarve these, items, and I won't have to run a 2-hour file or whatever to make it happen. So let's do that. You just do that, like you normally would a vcarve. We're going to get vcarve. We're going to do, I don't particularly like 0.2. Let's do 0.1. I don't need to flat that one because a 0.25 end mill is not going to fit in those, so I don't need to do it. And flat depth, and that's good. And I'm going to call this final vcarve, just in case I need it. If I need it, I have it. Now, lastly, some of this stuff has been moved. Slightly was my mistake. I just hit the wrong buttons. I'm going to highlight all my toolpaths and take out final vcarve. And alrighty here, I'm going to preview those visible toolpaths. So this should be what it's going to look like when it's all done. This is going to take at least 2 or 3, maybe 4 hours to run. I don't know about 4. I don't know. It's pushing it. This is actually slightly smaller than the other ones I've made. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this final vcarve to make sure that it's going to look okay, to see if it looks any different. So I'm going to preview that. Good. So nothing changed. So nothing that moved. Because imagine doing the whole thing and realize those names have been moved slightly, and then you run that file and obliterate the whole thing. So it is done. It's time to move these files, all these files, onto my disk, and they're all labeled appropriately. And forgive me, I'm going to go grab my thumb drive real quick, and we're going to get this done. Okay, so I'm going to call this Myers. I'm plugging in my thumb drive right now. It should pop up. Give it just a second here. All right, here's my USB. I'm going to make a new folder. New. I'm just going to call it Myers because honestly, once I run this, I'm going to delete it because I'm not going to do. It's highly unlikely I'm going to do another one. So we'll just make it Myers. Kill it. Time to save these. Okay, so I'm gonna just do them in order. All right, top roughing. Now let's see my post processors for the laser because the last time I ran it was a laser. Make sure you take it back to the one that I want. There's the post processor that I want, and we're gonna save. We're gonna save top roughing and to our D drive. There's Myers. All right, top roughing. Boom, done. Click on top finish. Top finish is done. Those vcarves take a little bit longer to load onto the disk. Here's our bottom roughing. Save. Bottom finish. Save. Cut out, save. This texturing is going to take absolutely the longest one. I mean, if it's going to be slow, it's going to be this texture one. That's going to be the longest file. Save toolpath. This is our texturing. And here's that final vcarve that we just made. Save. And we are good. I'm going to give it a little bit of a delay to make sure it all gets on the disk. And I guess I have like 30 seconds left on this video, so let's do our times real quick. Alright, so we're going to select everything. It says that this is going to take about 3 hours. I have found it takes about 25% longer than anything that it estimates. And you can see the texturing is showing 1 hour and 35 minutes. That's going to be the longest. Top roughing is about 17. So, it'll be, I don't know, it'll probably be approaching 4 hours.